writer nodded and said, "That's what Ra is. She had the heart of an ambulance born in the land of admiration. But we can't help but say one thing. This person is not simply evil-oriented. It's the head of a criminal enterprise. Can't forgive. My heart has become full of crime. Most likely, roll your eyes, and a small thing speaks." Vu Van contemptuously pouted his lips and shrugged his shoulders. "There's no reason even if it's honorable. You don't care." "That's right. Most likely, I did not notice for a moment." At this moment the eternal voice once again. "Then the more we have to be with God. To prevent her from being corrupted by that AI. I can see that she still wants to go. There's no stopping it. Sigh and tell me how you like it. Even if you wait for the guilty to come down. I don't carry you." The soldiers were happy to hear this. Her personality is playful. They didn't want to be locked in. "I just got out of jail this time." She's even more excited. Probably most people don't notice anything. Just one more person doesn't matter. Besides, she is a princess. Later, maybe he could use her to do a lot of things. Let her be Theo. What about him too? There is no king. To deal with the other heirs. He'll be the rightful heir. I can't help but sigh at the thought of this. Even if you cut off his temptation. But it's too late. In his heart, he buried the seeds of power grab. Think about here. He turned towards Vu Van Thong to say goodbye. Maybe the previous report. My two brothers are not leaving. He looked at the three people leaving. Take a look at Vu Van Dung here. Vu Van Thong could not help but sigh for an hour. In the blink of an eye, TIA didn't understand. Not long after, the worst of them brought to women back. The bones of the king covered with peanuts. See stray often raw pick up. I brought to people to the lady. This one is Princess Vin Min. The one who met him was the great priestess servant. She arranged to people. They stay before us for 3 days. You two are welcome. Follow me. I'll give you a nod. Take to people and leave. It's only halfway there. The prize was suddenly looked towards Van Du, and said, "Baby girl Du, I heard you can see heaven." Incongruous stunned skeletal pattern slightly nodding. It's a reward for a while. The two cheeks suddenly flushed with shame. Then, my dear, can you see the good fortune? Maybe you can see. The fog startled me, but very quickly responded happily, said. Her eyes suddenly became black. When you wait until you recover, you are a little confused. The cause of loss is often already here. Not very good, but cut off in the middle of the road. She's a little confused. But according to her doctor, this may have something to do with the weather. Thinking about it, she said a little. Sorry, I can't see your face. At the confused Sao often amazingly exclaimed. Take a deep breath. And the fog laughed. Your grace should have come 8 years ago. Because the butler is someone who is outside of heaven. Against heaven change fate. I think that's when he cut off your heart. It also means he broke my heart. Be responsible for me. Eyes couldn't help but light up. Is that Dung is often happy to say? The fog doesn't understand, but a little bit of a nod, too. Maybe he should take some responsibility. Then all right, thank you, Miss Vandu. It's usually a celebration. Smiling led the two away. The fog is still unclear what happened. She was on one side shaking her arm, she said hastily. My child is what I am. There's another side to the dark dungeon. A human figure hanging on a 10-letter pole. On a man full of wounds. It's almost dying. If you look back, you are the great priest. He was surrounded by people in black. Cover the whole face. Your high priest has crossed the world. When you hear this word, you weaken. Laughing Khan for an hour. I swear to protect people who have never crossed the line. The one who just did it. What have you said to the others about this? Including personality measurement. Inside, let out the cold sound of the black man. Fascia, eyelid muscle trembling. Slowly shake your head, this is too dangerous. So announce it to everyone. Old people don't hurt people. Very good voice. I just broke an iron lock. Immediately pierced straight into the heart of the mysterious Van muscle. He suddenly screamed an hour. There is absolutely no life. Haha, if the information has not been revealed. This game can continue. And now there's the sound of laughter again. Another dimension. Inside Jelly 7 of the vase bone covered. Probably the most popular training. And then take out Ra Lam High-S flaming photo to look at a. With a satisfied smile muttered. The tiger is the crown prince, and it is no less. But there's only one thing that I'm most satisfied with. To have to practice. But compared to a little unicorn practice back then, it's a small thing. 401 News. Slowly stroking Lam Hai Ma flaming photo, most likely, a smiling face. Then decide to sit inside. Battle begins to train. Just a flash of lightning. Photo electric circling. Blue two-pointed photo slowly dissolves. Destroyed in the blink of an eye in the great battle. But most certainly the world inside is also constantly trembling. After training the unicorn before that. Currently, training only one pair of wings of a level 7 beast did not. There's a problem. Just like that, he sat quietly inside the battle with his eyes closed. Completely unaware of the external dynamic. 3 days without moving. Let the battle divide his body. And then put it back together perfectly as it was. Slowly open both eyes. Most likely stand up behind a rock. My blue eyes suddenly opened and I scattered. Or with you, Lamb. Softly waving one. All the lowest secrets of the time with the screaming. At the same time, blue light is all around. Surround your whole body inside. This time most people have come to heaven. There are 2 wings of level 7. The speed suddenly increased. The light next to it becomes nature's protection. It makes it hard for people next to you to be careful. It's true that the gods have a free-fall craft. But I can't get out of the secret. The man on his right side was suddenly in pain. And then, suddenly, there's a vibration. The golden light suddenly appeared. Not Min Prodigy third insect. Probably the most excited. This is because the magic between these two has the same function. Unsuspecting training. Lam Hai Mei flaming photo. This time it led to a miracle. So later on, even in the face of a high level, there is also fighting power. Thinking of this, he is not free from the fluttering enthusiasm. You can't step outside screaming. Who's fighting me? I just walked out the door. A strange figure appeared in front of him. All the wicked stewards of the earth are wicked. You shouldn't be so angry. Most likely, he turned his head and looked back. Ever since I've been in this place. He raised his eyebrows suspiciously. You know I want to leave. Your eyes can also see. Maybe, but don't look. People have been waiting for you for 3 days. Waiting for the Ra. The fog laughed for an hour. Like a pure fairy. Bring the towel to the most secure. Early morning cover face. It can reduce people's fatigue. People are in a good mood all day. Oh, thank you. Wait, what are you doing? Most probably just received the towel. Not worthy of being asked. The dew filled with a beautiful smile. You say I am your wife. You have to serve people all the time. Must guide the good. Make sure the mood is comfortable. To avoid being cruel in agitation. And I have prepared this for you. As I said, I took out a small book. Towards the surest side the radiant smile spoke. You are a good person. This is advice to be kind. You should read a little more. Just heard here. The worst is immediately angry. The book in her hand was thrown away. Don't stop screaming. I've been reading this monkey for so many years. I need a little girl like you taught me to be human. Your sister is looking for you. Not for you to serve me. I told him to guide me to heaven. Check the air for me. As long as we know the direction of other forces, I can probably guess what they want to do. Your genius plus my wisdom. We can hold the whole thing. This is what you should do. Then tell me. Something has changed in the world lately. A lifetime of fused bones. Wrapped up in the high priest. The wicked have not yet seen. Inner weakness. Time's scream. This great man threatened her with fear. Hear him ask. I can only be careful, every little bit. I haven't seen it yet. The two big eyes said angrily. Someone who wants to save the world. It's the only way to save people. That's why before the Reformed, we won't see heaven anymore. Then you're no use. You can go home. He said, pull her hand. I want to bring her back to the temple. Right now. Is the same eternal reward Nin is happy to go to. I see the fog again. Standing close to the side, rushed to pull out the fog fingerprint draw. He often looks at the human question. What are you doing? What did the butler tell you? Look at you threatening people. It is also a form of anger. Speak up and blame him. That's right, children are usually friendly to people. There is a bridge. Treat the best people. Hurry up, I'm sorry. Or I will accuse your father of beating you. I see one person speaking on the other side. The worst of them laughed coldly. These three women know each other. We have long formed a group. I agree on diplomacy. Women are so free. Nothing to do, Sao. What does 7 hinder you from doing? Think about it, 2 eyes appear. Looking coldly at Vin Nin, he spoke. Your Highness, you said you wanted to protect me. Have the 2 princes solved it yet? Of course it's done. But these are the 3 Kaz. I pray for your forgiveness. It is the fault of the TCAs. The new father is not measured. If there is nothing for you to bear. Proud immortals raise their heads in favor of speaking up. The most likely person in my heart is laughing. Refused for comments. Love is not for you. Give the Emperor a step down? Emperor Sao can cancel the great plan for a prince or 2. The whole board. For half a day. I am most likely to look at the master again. Seriously say, Master Ni miss. You gave me a lot to talk about before. But I can only remember one sentence. You work. If you can't help me, I have no reason to keep you by my side. If you are a housekeeper, you get lost. I had a man. Hear this word. Often blushing unconsciously. I thought the housekeeper in his mouth was talking about her. Most people listen accidentally. People listen deliberately. What he wants to talk about is that she's idle. There's nothing to do. All day long, he's messing with his good stuff. Probably the most. I don't pay attention to the expression of the ordinary. He stared at the fog, waiting for her to give an answer. It was a long time before I bit my teeth. Avoid escaping Vin Nin and filter feces, often run away. The 2 of you see that. Urgently call the baby fog, do not go. On the contrary, the worst of all, he sighed and shook his head. Completely transparent about her decision. It's just been good lately. Although Sao is neutral before now. Don't worry, this saint will immerse herself in the ambition of another power. A path of crying and running away. But not for long. Suddenly VA fell asleep in something. Wait until she sees clearly. I saw a little boy crying in fear. She cried out in amazement. Why are you here? The little girl saw her cry louder. Kneeling on the tragic ground. Speak up, sister. That's not good, Gia. He's been killed. This word just came out, and my eyes widened in disbelief. Even the 3 most confident people. It's equally terrifying. Third in the 4 pillars. The demigod was killed by someone who had such great courage to touch him in the imperial capital. It's still the most responsive. The leader immediately left to raise their voices and call their elders. Let's go and have a look. Very quickly, everyone was in the temple. A straight path to Van's room. Push the door in. The scene inside surprised them. Seated in the chair position. But the whole body is covered in blood. I obviously used the picture. And 2 eyes are missing. There is no air around you. Clearly dead. When I saw this scene, I cried. He rushed to embrace the body of his mysterious body. only the coldest looking at it all. Turn your head to look at the people. The natural law says. How do you see this? Except for 100 to styles. A silent prayer for a while. Finally, the heavy voice. He stood in the sky 1,000 years ago. Now neutrality is respected. It is ranked third in the four pillars. Less than 1,000 people. I don't know who's touching him right now. This old man before he died, being mistreated into this form. But everything around you is as usual. Sheep inflammation high, just about the wounds on the body. It was very clear that after being led away, killing brings back. And his eyes were plucked out. Maybe it's because the prodigy can see through God's will. Thinking eyes. Most likely, make your own guess. If it's because of those eyes. He's been arrested countless times over the last 1,000 years. Why do you act now? I am afraid that the death of the dog had another cause. It's just someone who's lost. By the way, just study those eyes. I can't help but remember the conversation that day. He felt that his tone was a little strange. Take your niece to him. It's like sending a girl before she dies. If so, maybe he soon expected his own evil. That's why there are such actions. Listen to them exchange for a while. Is the award still doesn't hear anything useful? And the death of the family, the fog in my heart hurriedly asked. You're all gangsters. After such a long discussion, did it finally work? My grandfather was finally killed by someone. Perhaps most indifferently shrugged coldly. Now the ominous mermaid emperor knows that AI kills. Before that, the fecal muscle brought me the dew. Now I understand. It seems that he soon expected his death. It was intentional to send you to me. Not even waiting for the end of it. The fog was sobbing. Open your mouth and blame me. I thought you could see heaven. I've never seen it for you. If we discover this point soon enough. She gently shook her head and patted her shoulder to comfort her. Probably the most sincere voice. You don't have to blame yourself. You know it will be. Should mean to do so. Away from the body for meaning. It's basically the priestly era. I know that the police also have to die. This is the meaning of admiration. So I'll keep my promise. Take good care of your people. He turned his head and asked the old lady. What do you see? Of course. Lost bonus stitch hesitating nod. With her personality. Take on a girl like the dew. There's nothing to think about. I thought about what the worst thing I ever said to him. She's a little embarrassed. I don't mind keeping her like that. Certainly not a bad person. It's a narrow stomach. Thinking bad for others. Thinking of this, she looked at the most evil. Shy to speak up. Sorry, Butler Track. I always see you as evil. Actually, people are not bad. This time, thank you. You're the first to say I'm not bad. Laughing out loud with the surest of your voice again. Now the capital is really too chaotic, and the dragon pants are defenseless. Very likely will become the ballast of the fighting forces. So I decided to take Van Ra away to Hai Feng Spring. She took good care of her family, she saw Sao. It's often said that. But think for a moment. She was a little nervous, of course. It's just that thousands of people have moved out. It must be approved by your majesty. Don't worry, you forgot who I am. With a pleasant smile. It's probably taken from within the cloak world. By the Emperor. Give him the scripture to divide his. Take this cloak of mine. Get all of your people out of here quickly. Follow the guards along the way. Wait until you get out of the capital. I am looking for someone to report everything here. He took his cloak in his hands and received the order. But there's something in his heart that he doesn't understand. Again close to the most evil whispered. Track the butler. Since when did you start doing charity? This is not your style. Maybe you've seen the little girl. My son is not that dirty. Probably the most aggressive, rolling cold eyes. Take your feet off. On the way out, they don't even stop using consciousness. With the sound of the sutras, people who don't think deeply, there will be near misgivings. Every generation a priest appears. I can see through all heaven. Nia when they were isolated in the hospital. Collect as his power. Is the most appropriate time. Why don't you even come to this point? Shocking tears can be heard immediately. People feel. Complaining endlessly. Track cow's butler. It's really high. This is the person who planted the tree first. The person who planted the tree after the cool monkey. This is them shooting in front of us, in the back stealing paychecks. Probably the most chilling laugh. If the mastermind behind it knows what he's doing. It's cheap, we're afraid he'll die. Track the butler. You know who did a. Shocking tears startled the doubter, or asked. Most likely, his eyes revealed a profound appearance. Cunning smile say spray. Don't talk, don't talk, don't talk this game. New can play. Chat for a while. The most holy of words. Take the Lord's people out of the city. Back to Black Mountain. I have the most beautiful robe. A good way to leave. At the same time at the Imperial Palace. It was the fourth horse that reported the incident of Van Mysterious. The Emperor cried out in amazement that the High Priest was dead. High Priesta. The pillars of timekeeping in the celestial sphere. Why did you two just leave? Later, the AI will show me the right way. The woman saw him hurt. Embracing the right to speak solemnly. Your Majesty ease the pain of the death of the great priest to lead the nation. Now we need to find the killer. Stabilizing the reign. Your Majesty also advised you. Take care of yourself. The Marshal said no. Now investigating the killer is the most important thing. God of the Empire. Third in the four pillars. He was murdered in the government. It was a disgrace to the Empire. It must be one of those forces, Your Majesty. Call them to find out. That's right, these psychopathic bandits. Every day, no matter what, I can stop. But this time he dared to touch the National Guard. That's too much rape. His eyes softened. The aggressive Emperor shouted. She's the one listening to orders. Seal the gate. It's not up to everyone. Leading the chiefs of the lower house 8. Jia San Zhongfang. The rest of the family is here. I want to question them one by one. You have the right to receive it. aggressive mood to go out. Right after that, the imperial capital suddenly broke up. Military horses roam everywhere, make the streets busy like chickens, flying dogs running. The gate is one. Closed ink ready to welcome the enemy. Probably the most quiet, with the people in the small courtyard of Vangia. Watch the body. Listen to the static. I can't help but laugh for an hour. This sound is quite vibrating. I fear the world is not in chaos. It's always cold, a voice says. Most likely a small nod. Nor hide the laughter. I am the one who is afraid of the world. Otherwise, we don't have profit-seeking speculation. But now it's good. It's finally messed up. This is no longer a dead pool. Except for 103 vehement arguments. Another aspect at the court of the emperor. Hongfu Thien Nu Yen, and impermanent receivers and secure elders of all kinds. Sitting in the hall. A moment after the big doors violently opened. Sky dance for lone tiger she lamb body bearing heavy armor, fast forward in front of everyone. Put your hands on the right to speak. Hongfu Master. Your Majesty has only, please come to the royal palace to speak. Something like that happened again. Gently raise the eyes. Hongfu Natural Resources face calm. The tent speaks out. It's a lonely battle, she said coldly. High Priest meditation dance. The Lord is loved through. Your Majesty's life is being urgently investigated. What the High Priest is dead. In the restrained eye is not constricted. The Emperor of Heaven cannot remain calm. Scream. Even the impermanent recipient can't help but be startled. His eyes looked unbelievable. At the same time, news that the great priest was murdered by others. Transmit all the families. Everyone has this kind of reaction. Except for the horror then full of doubt. This place is the capital of those who dare to touch the high priest. Not long. By summons of the emperor. All of Barca's people gathered in the hall. The emperor sat on the throne. The two cold eyes glanced at the people below. At this moment the emperor spoke with great anger. You are on the court now. It's not a noble. Is the name of the exile? They're all people with bad ears. Dare to play with the High Priest of Heaven. It is true that there is no meditation. Aggressive to the Empire. Now the High Priest is dead. I don't know how you look. Your Majesty, as I see it. The priest rarely has a guard. But even though Sao is great, private is also the power of false sky peak wind. The person who wants to hurt him is not an ordinary person. Especially being able to quietly take him to the photo. Take him back. This man's power is great. It could be the crown prince of the empire. The emperor just finished. The lone warrior stood out. To curl up the newspaper. But my eyes are cold. Sometimes look to the left. I don't know if it was intentional or intentional. Inhabitants give him a glance. A cold voice said. That's what the old marshal meant. Maybe he's alluding. This has something to do with the 8 of us. But have you forgotten? In the most powerful force in the universe except our 8 families raw. There are 4 of you. Especially the 2 bosses in front. What do you say in your eyes? Lone Miss Battlefield screaming. Impermanent leadership. You are suspicious of the old man. The old man before the bright light. Work straight. Go straight. The old priest had a good time with the old man. The old man did that kind of thing. Not with this animal. Smiling and shaking his head, the impermanent leader raised his voice. Don't be angry. I don't mean to target people. I just want you to expand the scope of your investigation. Don't just limit it to us. For the unsub to actually run free outside the law. Your Majesty, the Honorable Master of the Soldier General. The High Priest has nothing to do with the old man. Who is the killer? I'm sure the old man will catch him. Lonely girl battle angel angry. Cold hubris raised his head. The impermanent leader shrugged his shoulders and refused to give an opinion, shaking his head and laughing into a sound of contempt. This old man is a good guy. But talk about power struggles. Again, a simple-minded person. You dare to kill the High Priest. Let him get a clue. Just use this as an opportunity to bring so much. But so pull in and converge. You can break the current cycle. Thinking about it, he can't help it. Looking at the surest side of the world still calmly standing there. It seems in the story, there's an invisible hand behind it. It makes people feel insecure. The Emperor quietly watched everyone's reactions. Speak out the case. Great priest. It's not that ordinary people can do it. But you can't be suspicious? The noble family hope here. Then the saint asked her. The last person the priest met was AI. Unconscious body for a while. The fog of thinking. Looking forward with the most positive eyes. I see you nodding, to be honest. To start your Majesty again, the great lost butler. Sure. This word just came out and everyone took a deep breath. Looking to the surest side full of doubt. The bottom is whispering again. According to what the lone warrior said earlier, the priest died at the hands of the master. Surely the whole world can do it. Maybe the guy who did this. There was a real uproar in the capital. God is not afraid. The earth is not afraid of a bad thing. Maya met the killer. Maybe he had an argument with the high priest. Suddenly, they kill. The emperor turned his gaze to the surest side of the earth. Said coldly, surely that's you. What is it that I unconsciously frown? Most probably not a little Buddha laughing out loud. If you ask the last person you saw through the high priest, boom. It's about me. But if you say people, the last person I saw was the killer, then it's absolutely not me. The mouth of someone who makes out prove themselves. The emperor said coldly, his eyelids trembling. Laughing for an hour. Perhaps the most indifferent person shrugged his shoulders. There are many witnesses. The high priest and I met. Before you go, tell the girl. She's been with me the whole time. He was my first witness. Then there are the two princes. And he hasn't finished yet. The emperor hurriedly put on his arms. All right, all right, all right. I believe this has nothing to do with you. The emperor looked indignantly at the surest side of the earth. This is taking his second child and blocking his throat. With his cunning. Say not. 7 will be dragged into this murky pool of water. Loss of the initiative not to speak. It can be washed. The strongest look in a long time. The emperor laughed coldly and nodded. Track butler brave but full of bright light brilliant. Probably won't do that kind of thing.